Thursday.
Thanks. Oh, and I love that. People.
Okay. Oh, no, not yet. Are we about to?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. Today is May 12th, 2025. The time is 7:01 p.m. It's a regular meeting of the Philomath City Council. We're going to call it to order and start with a roll call. Did I do that?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Thanks.
Spencer Irwin,
President.
Diane Crocker,
Here.
Teresa Nielsen,
Here.
Brent Caseman,
Here.
Jessica Andrade, and Christopher McLaurin is also present. Rich Salsa is and have Chris Wilson here as well. We'll now move on to public comments. Is there anyone here for public comments?
Nobody signed up ahead of time.
Okay, and I don't see anyone online. So next up, we have our consent agenda, which consists of previous meeting minutes as well as OLCC annual liquor license renewals. Does anyone want to pull anything off the consent agenda? Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved by Councilor Andrade and seconded by Councilor Crocker to approve the consent agenda. Would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye? Aye. That passes unanimously. I did just want to check. I think we have someone here for a later agenda item. Want to move that up earlier, or
It's your prerogative. We sure can. Yep.
is the council okay with us moving that up just to respect everyone's time? Okay. Then we'll skip ahead to, oh, please, yeah.
You just did the, sorry, because that.
Yeah.
Go, sorry.
No, good question. We're going to skip ahead to item E, ordinances and resolutions. Resolution 2508, authorizing repayment of park SDC overcharges. And as a refresher, this was brought up at the very end of our previous month's meeting. And we kind of went over what the general request was, but it was like 9:50 p.m. And we decided this was worthy of a little more thought and discussion than was able to be had at that hour. So we carried it over to today's meeting. But Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing different about the request or anything for this meeting. It's the same information you had last time. We just wanted the council to have more of an opportunity to hear about it, to discuss it before making a decision. So that's what we'll be doing tonight. So I'll have Chris introduce it, and then I think we have a guest.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. So yeah, the summary hasn't changed at all, but just to review again, this is specific to some park SDC fees that were paid by Mill Pond Crossing subdivision. They were paid, previous park SDCs were paid at the lower rate when we updated the methodology, which changed how SDC monies were spent for parks to include the purchase of park space and construction of new parks in lieu of requiring that developers put in parks and provide space when they, at the time they develop. Mill Pond Crossing kind of got caught in the middle of that, where they were both required due to the development agreement in place to provide a park, and then later also required to pay the higher park SDC fee, which was intended to pay for purchase of land and construction of those parks. And so Mill Pond Crossing submitted a request to be reimbursed for the difference in what the SDC, park SDC used to be and what it was raised to. I've gone back and done the math to calculate, what the SDC would have been if the same percent increase had been given from one year to the next, based on what at the time the SDC methodology was increased. And then done the difference of those two. And so that's been captured in the resolution 25-08 for consideration of the council tonight. We've invited Mr. Miller, invited him at the last meeting. He wasn't able to attend. This month he was able to attend, so the council's okay with that. I'd like to invite him up to go ahead and present to the council on this topic as well.
Come on up. Thanks for being here.
I'm gonna try to share my screen, and my eyesight is phenomenal today. Is it the green one that says share?
That's the one.
Yep.
Believe it or not.
Surround sound here.
Yeah.
Better with Chrome.
I think it's true that TV adds about 100 pounds, so.
Certainly made my bald spot there.
Makes me look old.
I sat down and, oh.
Yeah, all kinds of limitations here.
You had it for a second.
Yeah. There.
I can recess for a second if you want.
Mm. And guess when we get on the right one.
Okay, we're gonna go at ease for a couple minutes.
Is there still coffee with Counselor on the 17th?
No, I think
I thought I kind of saw that it was canceled, but I hadn't.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's gonna be our Okay, I'm gonna call us back to order, and we'll begin our presentation.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, Chris Workman. My name is Levi Miller. I'm the owner, developer of Mill Pond Crossing. As Chris said, I'm here tonight to request SDCs to be reimbursed back to me that were paid. As part of that, I want to kind of go back and explain the project from day one and kind of work methodology through so you guys can understand the history of the project and then where I'm at and then where I'm going. So to start, Mill Pond Crossing from day one has always been about affordable housing. That's been the mission. That's why I came to Philomath to do Mill Pond Crossing. And it wasn't just affordable housing as far as, rentals. It was to build homes at a price point that buyers could buy homes that they otherwise could not. That was the mission, that was the instruction, and that was the mission, and that's what I moved forward to do. The plan of Mill Pond was to do 5 phases. Phase 1 would be a severe loss, a bunch of upfront cost. Get through phase 1, get to phase 2. Phase 2, we would hopefully break even, and then phase 3, phase 4, and phase 5 is when we would catch up and start making money and paying back those upfront costs. The reason for that is if we had started phase 1 with our true cost, the phase 1 homes would have been much more than the later homes. So we basically I try to average the cost across phase 1 through phase 5, keep the pricing low, and then as I got to phase 3, phase 4, and phase 5, the business plan would catch up and the finances would work. So with phase 1 and phase 2, we sold homes for $259,000 to $335,000. That was extremely successful. We sold 62 homes with 0 effort. When phase 2 was over, we had 145 people on the wait list. So that plan, as far as getting people in homes, and the demand was clearly there. The problem was my costs were increasing dramatically. Between COVID, development costs, everything else, my costs were going up. I purposely was trying to keep those costs down. I tried to get very creative on how to keep those costs down, knowing that when we got to phase 3, phase 4, and phase 5, everything would work out. The average home in phase 1 was about $60,000 under market value. By the time we got to phase 2, the homes I was selling were about $100,000 under market value. So averaging across the board, I could have charged an initial $4 million, but it did not, because the goal was affordable housing. That was the mission, get people in homes that they could otherwise not afford. When phase 2 was wrapping up and I was getting ready for phase 3, the project ran into some challenges and the project was stopped. So I was kind of in the trifecta. One, I was incurring cost that I was hoping that I would be able to move forward and pay. By not being able to move forward, I did not have the revenue to pay additional costs. And on top of that, I was experiencing significant new costs because of the challenge of why the project stopped. So instead of having money to move forward, I basically did not have any money at all. So that $4 million I could have charged. If I had that $4 million, the last 3 years would have probably gone totally differently from Mill Pond Crossing. I would have had the funds from the very beginning to have handled the challenges I had. I think I'm probably done with Mill Pond Crossing right now. The thing would be developed and I'd be done. But I didn't have that $4 million, and the last 3 years have, quite frankly, been a nightmare. We've had to slow roll the project. I've had to refinance the project to get additional revenue to keep things moving forward. I had to get a $1.5 million loan from Business Oregon. That took a lot longer to get. I'm very grateful, very thankful I got it, but that still took 6 months to a year longer than we thought it was going to take. So the project has just, the basic long story short, the project's problem the last 3 years has been financial. It's been, it's the project had $4 million the last 3 years, things would have gone much different. Every day I wake up and I'm like, oh, why did I try so hard to keep my pricing down? Why did I not just raise my pricing, do a normal business plan, be like, your pricing's going up, don't fight it, just raise your prices up, move on. I was so set on the mission. The mission. That's what was drained, but what was pushed on me to complete the mission. And the last thing I want to do is come to town, say I was going to build the subdivision, provide housing that we could afford, people could afford, and all of a sudden I raise my pricing up, and all of a sudden people are like, oh, Levi lied to us. He, the whole classic development bait and switch. So even the last 3 years have been challenging. When I look at the mission, you can go to the next slide. Even if I had that $4 million and the last 3 years would have gone completely different, it goes back to the mission. These are real testimonials from buyers of Mill Pond Crossing. Levi has made the American dream possible for our family, and we are forever grateful. If it wasn't for Levi, we would not own a house. Homeownership wasn't something we ever saw ourselves pursuing, as it seemed too expensive. The affordability of Mill Pond Crossing has given us opportunity that we otherwise would not have had. So as I sit here and I look back and be like, what if I'd raised that pricing? When I remember this, and I remember there are families right now who own homes because of the decision I made, well, the last 3 years have been a nightmare for me. It's been frustrating for a lot of people. There are people who own homes right now who otherwise would not. And for that, I'm very proud of that. With that said, the last 3 years have been a challenge. I have gotten through it. And even though my prices have skyrocketed, the market is a lot different, we are still trying to accomplish the mission. Right now, we have 8 homes for sale, and this is the loan program that we are offering. We are offering a 4.5% fixed rate loan. And if you look at the comparison on the slide, a Mill Pond Crossing house at 4.5%, a house that's selling for $499, which is a lot more than it was in phase 1 and phase 2, but of course, the market is totally different. My costs are totally different. At 400%, a house at $499, the monthly payment all in, that's mortgage, property taxes, insurance, everything, is $3,134.98. With the market rate of 6.99%, that's equivalent of a house selling for $387,000. So we are still offering, while it's different affordability than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we are still offering a home that otherwise doesn't exist. Because, I think we all know right now, if you go on Zillow or Redfin, if you look for a house that's $380,000, either one, it doesn't exist, or if it does exist, it's a rundown, it's a garbage house. So we are offering 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1,821 square foot houses, brand new, for the equivalent of $387,000 or $403,000. So I think we are still, to the best of my ability, I'm still trying to accomplish the mission of affordability, get people in homes who otherwise would not be able to buy a home. We are moving forward with phase 2B. We, for the most part, are done. We have a few interiors to finish up on the last couple of houses. We should be done with those last 2 houses in the next 2 weeks. So we are ready to roll into phase 3. Here's the revised plot plan that we've done with the major modification, the minor modification done with the city. Phase 3 is mostly townhomes, and then we have a couple single family on the far east. The map is orientated, so the far left is north, and the top of the page is east. So phase 3 basically is oriented east-west. We're ready to move forward with phase 3. Got drawings getting finalized, ready to move forward. There are a few punch list items that are left over from phase 2 that I need to take care of. While I do have homes up for sale, even though we have a few buyers who are very interested and we're probably going to be getting some offers and people are going to contract the next day or two, those houses still won't close until middle of June, end of June. This is a current picture. I'm not a very good photographer, but this is looking down 16th Street, both directions. You can see we've got the gravel patches have been repaved, and you can see the street for the most part is finished. The landscaping is in, all the houses are painted. So this phase 1 and phase 2 is done. We're ready to roll into phase 3. We do have some punch list items left with Public Works. We have a detention basin flow control we have to install in the pond between phase 1 and phase 2. There's a concrete valley gutter that goes through the center of the detention basin and between phase 1 and phase 2. We have to fill the ditch on Willow Lane, and we have to put in some storm pipes going across Chapel. Obviously, as homes sell, we have money to pay for that, but now that it's May, the weather's good, if I can get that money that we overpaid on SDCs, I can get these punch list items taken care of, and we can roll right into phase 3 without delay, and we can get phase 3 done this summer, fall, get the park built, and more importantly, we can continue to bring affordable housing and keep the mission going with Mill Pond Crossing. As we get into the townhomes, the plan, obviously I cannot control the market, but assuming the market stays consistent with what it's doing now, which is still volatile, we plan to still offer similar interest rates for the townhomes and again, get people into homes right now for less than they'd be paying for rent. So even though pricing has changed, things are different than they were 3 years ago, the mission of Mill Pond Crossing is still intact, and my goal is still to continue to build and sell homes to people who otherwise would not be able to afford them. So with that said, that's why I'm requesting that money. And I just want to reiterate, I'm not asking the city for money. I'm not asking the city to pay Mill Pond Crossing. I'm asking for money that Mill Pond Crossing paid to the city to be reimbursed back to Mill Pond Crossing. So that's the request. The request is to be reimbursed, not for the city to give me your guys' money. So with that said, that was my presentation. Sorry if it was a little rough. And if you guys obviously have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you very much. I feel like I have some questions, but I'll save those for later. If other folks have questions or thoughts. Oh,
I do.
please.
Sorry. You had a punch list up there, and
Yep.
then if I heard you correctly, you said that with this reimbursement, that punch list would be something that you would focus on.
100%.
Is that like in a period of time that would be, what is my question?
Oh, 2-3 weeks. Because right now where I'm at, phase 2 for the most part, phase 2 and phase 2B are done.
Mhm.
We are ready to roll to phase 3. Me and the city have agreed that I will not move forward to phase 3 until certain things are done, because we don't want to keep kicking the can down the road.
Right.
And as I explained, the last 3 years, it's been a money problem. So right now I do have homes for sale, but by the time that revenue comes in, it's going to be end of June at the best, possibly even July or August. By that point, summer is, coming to an end. So if I can get reimbursed on those SECs that I paid, I can get the punch list taken care of immediately, and we can immediately roll into phase 3, get phase 3 done this summer, get the park built, get more homes for the city of Philomath. So basically, with it being May 12th, it's kind of timing's of the essence. It's kind of critical. If this was, October, November, it probably wouldn't be nearly as severe because obviously it's wintertime. But now that it's building season, it's time to get going. And I don't want I've had enough delays the last 3 years. I don't want any more. I want to get this project done for the city. I want to get done for me, and more importantly, I want to get done for the residents and the citizens of Philomath.
Get that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Andrade?
I guess I would like some more context as to how the punch list and the individual homeowners' needs that didn't get taken care of. They've had issues, and so do those overlap, those two needs, the homeowners' needs and the punch list that the city requires? Because what I see here is what the city is requiring based on our policies and such, but I'm concerned that the homeowners that have been essentially screwed over for, whatever reason, aren't getting their issues taken care of. And we're here to serve our community members. So I just want to make sure that their needs are met.
I was prepared for this question. I've gone through our warranty email, and I don't know what homeowner you're talking about. So do you have a specific homeowner that we can reach out to?
I'm just thinking about all the conversations that I've had over the years. No one specific. I just know that there's
There's a lot of people who have hated Mill Pond Crossing from day one. I had people who tried to derail the project from the very beginning. Before I even bought the park, people were trying to derail it. There's been an agenda to stop this project. There's been an agenda to destroy this project. There's been an agenda to put me out of business. There's been a lot of stuff said about me and the project that frankly aren't true. And some of the stuff you're saying, I believe, falls in the not true category, because when I go back through my emails, we have a dedicated warranty email, and people email that warranty email, and we respond, we take care of stuff. And I have a gal who works for me. She lives in development, and we went through the emails last week just to make sure. So unless someone has failed to reach out to me to say, hey, we have an issue, I honestly don't know. I mean, obviously, yes, the people behind Willow Lane, 100%, they have a ditch that they've been waiting to get filled for the last 3 years. There's been the paving on 16th Street, 1000%. Those big ticket items, which are required by the city, yes, but as far as individual punch list stuff, warranty stuff for individual owners, we frankly don't have, there's nothing outstanding. No one has let us know that they have a problem. So if someone has a problem, they need to email me and say, hey, we have this issue that hasn't been resolved. This is an issue that, because right now, I don't know what that is, which is why I was asking you. And since you don't have a specific, unless someone flat out says, blah, 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 or this address, this is their issue, I don't know what to say.
Can I respond to that real quick? As a counselor, I have record of the homeowners on Willow, with that Willow, and they have emailed the city council and said,
1000%.
we wanted that ditch filled. And that I have documentation for, and that was on your punch list.
Yeah,
I'm really hoping that that's gonna be something that we're gonna.
1000%, and that has been a priority. Unfortunately, that is a big ticket item.
Correct.
If it was up to me, all this would have been done 3 years ago. I don't like having this project where it's at. I don't like the last 3 years, again, has not been fun for me. It has not been pleasant. It has not been pleasant professionally. It has not been pleasant privately. It has not, when I say it's been a nightmare, it's been a nightmare on all levels. Every level you can imagine, it's been a nightmare. It's been a nightmare for me. It's been a nightmare for the president. So if I could click my heels, that would all go away. But I'm not at a point where I can address that. So yeah, the Willow Lane ditch, I drive by the ditch every day. I stare at it and I'm like, I wish, but now we're now there. We're ready to get that ditch filled. So yes, that is a big ticket item. And we, as part of that planning, we reached out to the homeowners about a week and a half ago because part of our plan was to build a retaining wall for those homeowners so we could raise the backyard up a little bit. Reached out to homeowners a couple years ago. We agreed that we would build a wall if they would be willing to split with us. So 2 weeks ago, we re-engaged the homeowners and said, hey, we're getting ready to fill this ditch. Our goal is to have this ditch done by end of May. Would you guys like to still participate in this wall? We're waiting for homeowners to respond back if they want us to participate. So we are reaching out actively to the homeowners to see if they would like us to build a retaining wall and if they would like to share in that cost. So yes, we are actively engaging the homeowners on Willow Lane.
Quick follow-up to
Please,
that.
Councilor Andrade.
Why would they do that? Isn't that your responsibility as the developer to have built that retaining wall? I'm not, I
No,
this is an honest question.
the wall was never part of the plan. The wall was never part of any agreement to build. Our plan was just to fill the ditch in and grade it. But once obviously, the homes got built and we looked at it and it's like, if we build this, if we put this wall in, the homeowners could get some more yardage. So it was something that it was actually a request of one of the homeowners after the fact. And so we basically said, that's a great idea. Let's see if we can't help people out. And as part of the development, we agreed to, if the homeowners wanted to participate, we would split the cost of them. So it was never part of the approved plans by the city. It was never part of a condition of sale to the homeowners. It was something that someone asked us after the fact, and we're like, yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. Let's see if we can't work something out together. I'll pay for part of it, you guys pay for part of it. We'll hopefully all come out, winners about it. So that was something that we were hoping to have done, 2 years ago. And again, we're just now getting to it, so.
Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being here and for walking us through all that. And I know it has been kind of a mess for so many people, but I also can attest to the fact that I've talked to people who live there that, that they share their concerns and their frustrations, and they also share the fact that they would not have been able to buy a house if it weren't for that development. So both of those things are true at the same time. And I thank you for acknowledging those and walking us through that. I think the biggest question on my mind with this, and I don't mean this as a impugnment on you by any means, but I think it's just a question on a lot of people's minds. As you mentioned, it has been very delayed. There's been a lot of these unexpected issues. I think we all want that punch list to get done. How do we know for sure if this money gets to you, that punch list gets done? Can you walk us through a specific timeline and sort of what assurances you have for us that that will move forward. And again, I don't mean to,
Oh, no,
I think you can acknowledge, there've been a lot of delays and a lot of things where we've been told something will happen by a certain date and then it happens a year later. So I think just,
I'm glad you brought that because that's one thing I didn't include.
sure,
We're doing homeowner updates
yeah,
and then I stopped
yeah,
because I got tired of telling people stuff that I couldn't follow through. So
sure.
I quit I got tired of basically being a liar. I was like, well, I don't know, so there's no point in me lying. So I just quit giving them. So yeah, I know. Yeah, so things have it's been challenging. And with that said, Mill Point Crossing, it's my life. Literally and figuratively, I have the loan from the state of Oregon is personally guaranteed by me. My development loans are personally guaranteed by me. I am ready to move forward to phase 3. If I don't move forward to phase 3, I personally don't have any income. I have loans that I'm not able to repay. So for me to get the funds from the city and not use them to move the project forward, quite frankly, it hurts me more than anybody else because it puts me in a position to where I have no revenue. I have no money. My project stalls out even more. And, if it stalls out any longer, things just compound and compound. So this is not a situation where I own, 7 projects, 8 projects, and I can put this on the back burner and say, I got my money from the city. I'll see you guys in 3 years. I'm going to go focus on other projects. Those don't exist. My only project is Mill Point Crossing. The loans are personally guaranteed by me. So if I don't perform, those loans, get called. I personally am liable. I think you can see where I don't want to say what would happen because I don't want to say it out loud, but I think you can see where I'm implying if I took this money and didn't use it where it benefits the project, it doesn't benefit me. Yes, there could be a short-term gain of 2 weeks where I could get some money and go personally use it, have some fun. But personally, in 2 or 3 weeks, I would have created a bigger problem for myself. And there's no gain where I don't get this punch list stuff done right away. So there's really no guarantee I can give you other than it doesn't benefit me not to do it. I mean, there's zero benefit not to jump on this punch list.
Sure, I guess, really quick, just, I guess I should have clarified, I'm not worried about you going off to Hawaii with it or anything. I'm more worried about this is like $39,000. If you have that $39,000, but those projects are gonna cost $200,000, just sort of what's your plan to get all that done with the total cost of all of it, I guess, is just something that would give me some more confidence in this.
I'm glad you asked because there is another $73,000 roughly in storm money that I'd like to request today as well. There's storm SDCs. I asked Chris before that. I mean, there's 2 parts to this puzzle. There's the park and there's also some storm. So if I got both those funds, I'd be good to go. And yes, other thing too is the project, as cash flow catches up, I have nothing else to spend it on except for this punch list. So
Sure.
Could I finance these punch list items on my own? Absolutely. But it wouldn't be for another 6 weeks to 2 months.
Okay.
I don't want to wait 6 weeks to 2 months. I want to get them done now. So yes, there is funding to do them without this, but this certainly moves that needle further quicker. So
Okay.
did I answer your question?
I think so. I might come back to myself in a second, but I know Councilor Crocker had a question.
Is it my understanding that legally you have to finish the punch list before you begin phase 3? So that's motivation right there.
Absolutely.
And I also think it's not fair to pay for the park and then pay the SDCs for us to build a park if that's overpayment. So I am in favor of, for the better good of everybody, to do this refund and get this punch list done and get moving. I think it's the best for the community.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Address the $70,000.
Yeah.
Shop.
Yeah, so we didn't combine this. The park STC was very much, I won't call it an oversight on the city's part, but it could have been addressed at the time the new STC methodology for parks was implemented, and it wasn't addressed at the time. I'll throw the consultants under the bus because that's what we pay them the money for. But typically a consultant's going to come in, look at that, and that would have been run with the recommendations from the consultant at that time is, do you have any outstanding agreements with any outside developers? We should reach out to them and make this sort of agreement take place before your new methodology gets updated, and that didn't happen. And so I don't put that squarely on the developer for not flagging it and coming and testifying at the time the new SDC methodology was put. I don't put it entirely in the camp of the city, we should have known better. I put it squarely on the consultant, they should have known, they should have known. So all that said, it was a little bit different. The storm SDC money, the city had on our, prior to the Mill Pond crossing coming to the city at all, the city had a storm master plan that called for a storm sewer pipe or stormwater pipe to run down 15th Street and capture that water and take it all the way 15th Street down to Chapel. When Mill Pond Crossing came to the table and started doing their work, we looked at the master plan and said, well, this is in there. If you'll pay to put that storm line in at the same time the rest of the 15th Street is going in, we'll give you SDC credits for your storm for every new house that you build. So as you build new houses, we won't charge you that new storm SDC. We'll just waive it, we'll keep track, and we'll add all that up. Well, we've been doing that. So how many houses have you built up to today?
I think we had 75 that we've paid the SDC
So
on.
75 houses, park SDCs have gone up every year, but I think they started at like 12 and now they're up to like 15 or so. Maybe 17. So for every home that's come in, we've essentially knocked that off of the total cost of that storm project that Mill Pond Crossing built while they were there in the street doing it already. Not uncommon. SDC, credit for projects through SDCs and getting SDC credit within our development code. Pretty common practice. It doesn't make sense for the city to hire our own contractor, go out and work in the same road that the developer's in working. So those arrangements are fairly common. The uniqueness, I guess, about it a little bit was that the request is essentially rather than continue to give an SDC storm credit for every house over the next 3-5 years, however long it takes to finish out the entire development. What he's saying is we've got a balance on our account, and he's saying if he can call that now, get that money, cash money, to help again get through phase 2, because money is tight for phase 2 and getting past phase 2. We would just take that as a lump sum. That 70,000 would come off the amount of credit that he has, and then he would start paying as homes are built for the next 3-5+ years. Then we'll just charge that SDC credit for a storm because there wouldn't be any credit there left. So I can run all the numbers, bring that back to you, but it's again a little bit different than kind of an oversight on that overpayment because the methodology changed. It's really a matter of a payment or an SDC credit for storm. The request is that we pay that lump sum upfront now rather than continue to give credit for it throughout the duration of the development.
Counselor Andrade?
Are we going to be talking about that tonight, or is that's future?
I didn't write it up on this tonight because I wanted to kind of keep them separate because the reasoning behind them is a little bit different. Mr. Miller talked to me this evening and asked about it and about talking to you about it. And I said, for you to bring it up and make the request and we can talk briefly about it, but I don't have a resolution. I don't know that I'm overly, I don't have the numbers on me or anything like that. So I would feel more comfortable, and Mr. Miller's not going to like this. I'd feel more comfortable writing it up, bringing it back,
I do too.
spending some time, but it might be good to know if we've got like a yellow light going forward or it's a red light, stop, we're not interested, or if, kind of where we're at before I get some direction on proceeding with doing all the calculations and bring it back to you.
Well, and also there's only so much processing that can happen right now with all of this information for me personally. So I would definitely appreciate something written and that explanation again, because I lost it.
I think I would also say we need to wait on that just to give public notice of the
Yes.
decision. That's a significant change from what's on our agenda. So, okay, nothing got it?
Not sure who this is a question for specifically, but I know that I have heard from okay, I guess first of all, the detention basin concrete valley gutter, is that paving over that wetland area in between 15th and 16th Street, their backyards?
No, it's a 3-foot concrete gutter in the bottom of that swell. It enables water to flow freely out the bottom of the basin.
So it's not in like that separating of the backyards?
It is, it's in the dead center of it.
Okay, that was my question.
It's 3 feet, it's 3 feet wide, dead center of this detention basin, and it goes at full length.
Okay, and you said the reason for it is to get, like, it's not paving over the bioswale, or it is paving over the bioswale?
Dead center of so the storm basin, it's basically a big giant trench.
Yes.
This is a 3-foot concrete gutter that goes dead center of that, the full length. So as water collects, water can leave the basin quickly and efficiently. That is a design requirement from the city.
Okay, so the swale will still be there, there will still be, okay, that was my question, because I had heard that it would potentially just go part of it.
I just want to qualify some language just to make sure we're all.
Thank you.
So that, that detention is not a bioswell like you think of bioswell. So the terminology is there. Bioswells are built to treat water before it goes out to the river. This is actually a detention area, which is meant that when water comes down really, really hard, the water can't come off site any quicker than what it did before the development was there. And so if the water starts to try to go off site, as in like south of Chapel Drive, too quickly, instead it'll get diverted there and it'll start backing that and that'll start filling and actually will fill theoretically, if it ever rains that hard, it'll start filling from south and it'll fill up towards the north. And so it's really just meant to retain the water on site. It's not meant to purify the water, clean the water, or treat it in any way. It's just detention. So it'll hold it. There's a device at the kind of the headworks of that only lets the water come off at the same rate that it would have gone off prior to the development. So that bioswell, that storm detention area, that's all it's doing. It's not treating. So if it was a bioswell, we wouldn't want concrete on the bottom of it, but it's not a bioswell. It's just a storm detention. And the city's design standards require that it has that concrete strip at the bottom of it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, it sounds, someone had told me about it being paved over, and so I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't actually what was happening.
Just to educate, say it's not a bioswell. It's not meant to treat the water. It's just a storm detention area that's meant to hold the water back so it doesn't flow off the property or any faster than it's supposed to.
Good.
Surely I just assume not have to concrete it and pay my water there.
Yeah, wetland.
Yeah, I heard everyone.
The edges will still be there. And again, it's 3 feet. I don't think it'll have a huge impact, but according to Public Works and our city engineer, it will function better with the 3 foot of concrete on the bottom.
Counselor Casey?
I did have a thought, so we will approach a point where a decision must be made. I was looking at the proposed resolution and starting on line 28. Whereas the city does not believe it is fair to require the donation of park space based on the previous SDC methodology and collect the new increased SDC fee intended to offset the expense of purchasing land from future developments. So when I look at decisions, I try to put things in the proper category. So if the proposed resolution says does not believe it is fair, I think any of the questions that we may have had, that you had, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Andrade, those are questions in proper categories, but that wouldn't change the category of is it fair? I think that's, I guess I'm just saying this is how I'll approach it. Is it fair or is it not fair? And if we vote that it is fair, why is it fair? If we vote no on this, to give a reason why it's unfair. So I just think having proper categories is helpful in making a decision.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say to that point, just the fact that like, it feels like a lot of the agenda item summaries talks about like the fairness of it, but that's very much like a moral statement as opposed to I guess the outcomes, the logistical and material outcomes, and whether or not that is I guess we're coming at it from different frameworks, basically, and making sure, like you're saying, we're coming from that same framework is important.
The fact that you mentioned, if I'm understanding this correctly, now this is going back to the storm drain credit reimbursement. No longer offering a storm drain credit if we were to reimburse that amount. Is that gonna change anything with what the contract with, because if we do that reimbursement, my understanding, he'll no longer have the storm drain credit, correct?
I think he'll still have a balance. I gotta have to look at the numbers.
Okay.
And, if I remember correctly from when we looked at this, so I'll have Mr. Miller correct me if I misspeak here. I believe that he's got a larger balance than what we even have in SDC funds and Storm SDC, because we only get those funds as homes are built. And the majority of the homes being built are being built by Mr. Miller, and he's getting credit for those, so we're not getting money from him. So it's the other developments that have developed that have paid the Storm SDC. We've collected that. I believe that's where the 70 is coming from, because I think we've only got like 70 or 80, $90,000 in there right now. So it would be a lump sum that we would do. I think there's only one. So again, I need to do my work. I think there's only one project in storm projects that we're even doing over the next year or two, going back on our SDC or our capital improvement plan for the 3 years. So we wouldn't want to short ourselves, but if there's money that's otherwise just sitting there in storm SDCs, the thought was that could get reimbursed. We'll take that as an additional debit essentially from what his credit is, but I believe he would still have a balance. So we would still not collect those, but it'd be, the equivalent, like he built $70,000 worth of SDCs. We're going to give him that credit now, and he'll still have some balance for the next however many homes. It'll just be $70,000 fewer homes, right? So, but I can prep those numbers. That one, to me, speaking to Councilor Andrade's comments, that one's less of like a fairness issue, because there was kind of an agreement going into it that you'll do the project, we'll give you SDC credits for it. Everybody agreed, moved forward. So I don't feel like there was any, to me, that one doesn't have the same argument of kind of fairness, like we've over collected or anything like that. It's really just a matter of, to me, that one's more a matter of, is there a way that the city can provide assistance to Mill Pond Crossing to get through phase 2 that's not going to cost the city anything, right? It's already sitting on our balance sheet. It's money that's, we're not going to get back anyway. Do we want to not get that money back over the next 5+ years? Or we would want to, give them credit for that, help get through phase 2, get on to phase 3, which I would argue is in the best interest of the city, right? I mean, the sooner we can get out of phase 2, we get that punch list taken care of and move forward, I think the better for the city and everybody in this room, including Mr. Miller. I mean, everybody benefits from that. So if there's $70,000 sitting there that's not getting utilized for city projects in storm, I think it'd be a good use for project, but that's a discussion for another day. I can bring that back to you if there's interest.
Sure, and those SDCs for phase 3, not 2, but for 3, would those be paid at the beginning of the phase 3, or are those paid middle, or where would that come in?
So SDCs are collected at the time that the building permit for each home is pulled.
Okay.
So you'll have the approval for the entire phase 3. He'll get approved for all of his infrastructure, the park, the streets, the water, sewer. So that goes in, but then he doesn't, we don't collect the SDC. He actually pulls a building permit for the houses that are going to get built. Now, new developments typically will ask to defer those SDCs until the home's built and ready to sell. Otherwise, they're out, it's over $30,000 per house right now for SDCs. And so it's very common, and Mr. Miller's done this in phase 2, to defer the SDCs till the home's built and they got a buyer. When they go to closing, we just submit that to the closing officer to escrow and say, hey, they've got $30,000 outstanding. It's a lien on the property. They see it. And then when it closes, then we get a check cut to us for that. We charge a little bit of an interest rate on that. I think we charge like 9% or something, an annual interest rate of 9%. So to make a little bit of money, we don't lose anything, helps the developer out. And again, it's pretty common within our code to allow for that to happen. You don't see it on single bit homes if you're like buying your own home. Usually those SDCs get wrapped up into construction, but it's not uncommon for new construction to use that. So either at the time the building permit's pulled or at the time of closing on the house, and it'll be.
Those are the only two options. That's what I need to know. I'm sorry, trying to clear that down so I understand.
Yeah, unless, I mean, there could be other intricacies, right? I mean, if there was another, I know this project fairly well, so there wouldn't be, but just an example, if there was another city project that wasn't necessarily needed to serve the development, say we had another sewer main that needed to come through there that was unrelated to his project, it just happened to be where his project was, we could do an additional agreement for SDC credit program of some sort.
Makes sense.
But it'd be some other agreement that would come before you and we talk through it. So short of that, no, it's at the time the building permit's pulled or the time that the house closes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, and then I saw Councilor Casey saying, I still had.
Maybe, and I think it needs to be brief, so, and maybe it goes back to the fairness. In a way, I wish there was a policy or a procedure to cover this, because once again, it seems like there's a lot of space for judgment calls. I almost wish there was a policy. Maybe that's a future discussion. If the city has a policy, if does seem to be a double charge, what's the process for a refund? But anyway, that's probably a conversation for another time.
Thank you.
That's a good idea.
Councilor Crocker?
I'm concerned about timing, because my understanding was that the punch list could happen in 2 to 3 weeks, before June even, but not if we don't give the 73,000 at this point, because it sounds like the punch list costs more than the 39,000. So is that, and we don't have another meeting until next month, my understanding, and
You could.
so that would be quite a delay.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess, can I parlay that into a
Yes,
question?
please.
So what is your estimate on timing if you have the 39,000? Period.
Yeah.
Like, when do you think those punch list items would be complete if we authorize the 39,000 tonight, if that's all we do?
It would move the needle, but
Okay.
it wouldn't move it all the way.
Do you have an estimate of like when those things might get done?
I could definitely get the ditch on the lane done, because that is, to me, an order of importance. Willow Lane ditch is priority number one.
Yeah.
I want to get out there. Like I said, we've already reached out to the homeowners, say, hey, this is what we got going on.
Yeah.
This is what the wall built, let us know, because we're gonna be on this right away. So I would 100% do the Willow Lane ditch first, just
Okay.
because that is a direct impact on residents.
Yeah.
From there, I would then go to the swale, because that's on the property. That is, that's been a hot button item for Gary and Kevin for quite some time. So I would like to, appease them. And then last but not least is the crossing of Chapel, which involves the county. Crossing to Chapel in the county, that's a big ticket item. That one, it needs to be done. Obviously, it needs to be done because we've agreed to do it, but as far as, that's the, I don't want to say least important, because I don't want that to be, in the record, but if I had to.
But you said it.
Yeah. So that's the order I do it. If I was able to sit here any more than I already am and try and convince you to give me the other $73,000, I could have everything except for the crossing the street done by the end of the month.
Oh. I'm gonna take a breath.
Good breath.
How dare you?
So yes, with the 3940, whatever the dollar amount is.
Yeah.
The Willow Lane ditch would 100% get done, and get done for the most part immediately, other than just wait for the homeowners to decide if they want to roll or not. That would be the only, if that money was approved tonight, that Willow Lane would be complete essentially right away.
Yeah.
If we were able to get the other 73 or whatever the dollar amount was, we would immediately be able to move forward and get the retention basin done, the overflow, and the channel, get that completely done, and that would satisfy, Gary and Kevin. So it would be very beneficial to have both approved tonight. I mean, I would love that.
Yeah. Councilor Crocker?
Do you have any idea how much the retention wall would cost? So what, half of it being the.
Absolutely, it's $120 a lineal foot, and we've agreed to split that with the homeowners. So the average lot, and what we did is each lot is a different width, so we created an invoice for each homeowner. We sent them an invoice and said, here's what your wall would cost. We will pay half, and then we invoice them the other half. And the agreement with, if they did decide to do it, the agreement was that we would build the wall. Within 10 days of the wall being done, we would expect payment from the homeowner. So it's 120, I think it's $115 on a linear foot. So I think the average lot, I think is 45 feet wide, so 45 times 115. We're paying half, we'd pay half that. So I think it's like I want to say like $2,200 was what the homeowners would pay.
Okay, so that wouldn't.
And
slow it.
that wall is not part of these funds. So
Sure.
we would
No,
fill.
no, no, I understand that. I just was wondering if the homeowners might take a couple of weeks to come up with the money, slowing your progress down.
No, so what we would, like I said, we basically said we'd collect it 10 days after we were done. So I don't think, I don't expect whether the homeowners decide to or not to, I don't think that's gonna slow down, or it's gonna slow down what we got going on.
Contract that says they will pay you and they do,
well,
because that would be an issue, yeah.
That's, I mean, I've definitely taken a risk to do it, but there are, lien laws, so I would not want to do that, but there are ways to protect me if I needed to. But at the end of the day, I'm also looking on how I can benefit the homeowners for their patience while I've gone through this. So I don't have to do this, but I want to basically, make up for the last 3 years of them having to look at that ditch. And it probably doesn't make up for it, but it's the best I can do at this point.
Sure. Okay. I guess the last thing I'll say is just, I'm very conflicted. I see the benefit of this. I also feel like part of me feels like the sort of fair thing, since this is about park SDCs, would be to do the reimbursement upon completion of the park. But I know that doesn't solve any immediate problems. I just wanted to say that because that makes more sense in my head. And then I guess the question is, and this may be a larger question, but can we do another meeting this month? 'Cause I feel like we need to start doing 2 a month a little more often, rather than stay until 10 p.m.
We could, yes.
Okay. So just to say, it doesn't have to be till next month for the next item. I think
Trying to figure out spring break and everybody's availability.
that's fair. Yeah,
Well, I'm kind of ready to make a motion.
please.
I move to approve Resolution 25-08, authorizing repayment of park SDC overcharges.
Okay, it's been moved by Counselor Nielsen, seconded by Counselor Crocker to approve Resolution 25-08, authorizing repayment of park SDC overcharges. Is there any discussion on that motion? I think I saw Counselor Caseman just milliseconds before Counselor Underwood.
This may just be semantics. I think I would prefer authorizing refund of park SDC overcharges. In some places throughout the resolution, it says refund, some places it says repayment. It might just be semantics. I prefer that, but I wouldn't die on that hill.
Peter Baseman works at a bank, and so.
That's true.
Getting back money, I think we take his word on it.
Would you like to make a?
Oh, how does that work?
If you,
Motion.
I'd like to amend the motion where the resolution 2508 reads authorizing refund of park SDC overcharges.
second, okay, it's been moved by Counselor Caseman, seconded by Counselor Nielsen.
Oh, yes. Can I further amend?
Maybe withdraw that motion.
Okay, I will withdraw that motion, and now I will amend the motion that resolution 2508, sorry, Charlie, removes the word repayment throughout and replaces it with refund to include the title authorizing refund of park SDC overcharges. That was a while.
That was great.
I'll second that.
Okay, did you get that? Do you need anything? Okay, it's been moved by, Counselor Caseman, seconded by Counselor Nielsen to amend the motion to have the resolution read authorizing fund
of park STC overcharges and keeping that language consistent throughout. Is there any discussion on that amended motion? Or amending motion? Okay, all those in favor of that amendment, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that amendment passes. We're back onto the base motion of approving the amended resolution. Is there any discussion? I think I saw Councilor Andrade's hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm also very conflicted. I understand that there's a lot of things that are beyond people's control with this project in particular. And also, like, I see my role as a city councilor to represent members of the community, and I really don't feel comfortable with passing this, knowing that legally, like, we're not obligated to give that money back. Like, the due diligence was not taken, and functionally, it feels like we're rewarding the actions of, like, not going, like, successfully completing the project, meeting the timelines and such. And I understand that people want this project finished, but the people who live there want it finished and done correctly. And I just, it would be different. I understand that the money is needed, and also it'd be different if everything was being met according to what everyone agreed to. So I can't vote yes on this. But that said, like, I do understand the need.
Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I think, do we need to do a roll call vote for this then?
Just resolution.
Oh, well, great, okay. Then would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye? Oh, yeah, and say aye.
I vote, sorry, I have
Oh,
one more question. Sorry.
is that
Did it-
allowed? Sure, okay, I didn't count anything.
It's about the SDC, I know how to read, resolution, language, line 23 on the first page. I just want to make sure that the numbers are accurate, because it says that this change in methodology significantly increased the park SDC fee to $5,100 plus a $50 administration fee. It doesn't say from what it was, and I just,
You can get up in the line 11.
in line 11. From,
Line 11, SDC rate was 967 per housing unit.
and so this is saying 5,100 total.
Yeah, it went from 967 to 51. That's how I did it. Is
The
that
park
correct?
STC, we didn't have an administration fee prior to.
Yeah, I guess, because then when I look here, that's, when I look at the attachment 2, the park SDC paid, like, if you add that up, that's more than,
That's a great point.
Yeah, so he'd built several houses in phase 1 before the new methodology was put in place. So we're only taking into account those SDCs that he paid after the new methodology was put in place. And by then, that wasn't just the 967. If you'd have done those rate increases throughout, it would have been up to the 2773, which is the first number that I put in
Oh, I see.
2022.
for the old one. So then, what is the 967 then?
That's what it was back in 2018 when he
Which-
first started building.
Gotcha. And none of the houses, at least on this list, have that as being the SDC charge.
They when
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure the numbers are correct, and I don't see what fits.
so the old myth back in 2000 and what the attachment 2 is saying that is in 2022 when the new methodology was adopted, the old SDC methodology, or the old SDC methodology would have had the SDC at 2273.
Thank you. I agree about.
But he paid 5309, and that was the new methodology FTC that was charged him. So essentially from, I forget the exact date, but between the beginning of the year 2022 to April of 2022, our park SDC rate went from 2273 up to 5309.
Yeah.
That was the substantial jump. And he and all the other developers, just from one day to the next, paid that increase. Now they had warning, we adopted it like 3 weeks prior.
Yeah.
That was the effective date. But yeah, that was, again, it wasn't like it went up $500. It was a significant change because the methodology changed. We were now collecting for money to purchase parks and build equipment, and we never collected that before. So it was a pretty significant increase.
Yeah, no, I just missed that one piece of the new and the date. Anyway.
Okay, any further discussion? Final call, going once, going twice. And we're gonna vote. Would all those in favor of the motion to adopt the amended resolution, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, would all those opposed, please raise your hand and say nay. Nay, is that an abstention? Or is
I'm
that,
an aye.
oh, you said, oh, I missed your hand, okay. Then,
Maybe I.
Okay, then-
Or
I think, resolution 2508 is adopted. So, I'm assuming Chris will follow up with you with the details.
Yeah, can I give a little direction
Yeah,
on
I was
the
gonna-
storm SDC before we leave the topic? Do you want me to bring that back? Do we want to have a special meeting?
What is the appetite
We can
of the
have,
council on that piece?
I would love to have a meeting maybe before the fourth Monday. A special meeting, short special meeting to discuss this.
Okay,
But that's me.
personally pretty flexible.
okay. And it's something you want to happen?
I see value in it.
Okay.
I would. Yeah,
Okay,
depend, if I were all the way sure that it was just a change in methodology and was a net neutral, I'd be comfortable voting even right now, but I mean, I think it would be important to know that,
sure.
so.
I think I do need the information presented again, maybe even in print. I heard everything, but
No, same.
to conceptualize, I need something.
Also, since we're on the record, I do think the public input period
Yeah,
should,
yeah.
there's no,
Are you looking at the
and I
20?
think it's important.
Sorry, Spencer.
Yeah.
Are you looking at the 27th? I'm sorry, the calendar is crazy. Is that when we're thinking, or are you thinking prior to that?
It's an open discussion.
I think the 27th is a holiday.
27th is a Tuesday following Memorial
oh, I got you,
Day.
26.
Memorial Day is at,
Oh, I got it.
that's right. There's dedication and there's dedication. I'm just kidding.
Councilor Andrade?
I should have asked this before we voted, but if we were hoping to, I guess we had talked previously about potentially like paying the invoice and like, is that a policy thing? Do we need to have that in the resolution, even though we passed it already? Or like, as opposed to giving the check to like, like writing a check to Mr. Miller, like
Or a refund, we're just gonna refund the overpayment
Yeah,
not paying an invoice. Okay,
as a refund.
yeah.
okay.
Yes, Councilor Nielsen?
We have a launch event on the 16th, correct?
We do.
Oh,
I don't know if
Friday.
is that,
Is that not correct?
That
You are right.
doesn't get at the issue though
Oh,
of giving proper
no,
notice.
proper time, you're right.
unless if Chris can just pull it all nighter, but no.
Very solo.
I mean, it's gotta go out 48 days
Yeah.
or 48 hours.
48.
Wait, oh, there you go.
So we got something out. We get something out tomorrow.
Well, I can't do the 16th.
So are we looking at maybe next Monday?
the 19th,
I'll be out of town.
you're out of town.
I mean, it doesn't matter, but I'm just saying I'll be out of town.
How's everyone else doing on the 19th?
The planning commission's meeting at 6. We could meet. It's a hearing. continuation of a hearing.
That's right. Are they still meeting tomorrow?
Oh, sorry, yeah, tomorrow's a continuation of the hearing. The 19th is new code.
Okay. Oh.
If we meet at 5?
Or what about we have music in the park on the 22nd? Could we meet prior to the music in the park?
I will be flying to Utah.
Oh,
I know.
okay.
Tuesday, the
Beautiful.
20th.
That could work.
Either.
Okay. 20th? 20th?
I'm still out of
Tuesday, the
town.
20th.
I'm hearing a lot of excitement for the 20th. Okay, shall we? So,
Early evening is best for me on the
Okay.
20th.
okay,
Worst case, I can probably do it.
yeah, that's fine. And I guess we don't know about Counselor Salsa, but that's
Early, like a 5:30, like what we would do for a work session, or you want to go 6?
6 is always better for me, but
They're flying. They're
Yeah.
Not literally flying. but
well,
hopefully
maybe
just-
if you need me here at 5:30, I might have to fly back. But I also
Specifically.
I know it's not just about me, so.
I can probably make 6 work. It'll probably end up soon.
Okay, and that would be the only thing on the agenda, so we
Okay.
can try to keep, I mean, famous last words, we keep it brief, but.
Okay, we plan that.
Okay.
Thought 6 on the 20th.
Well, we'll get that notice out soon. So, thank you, Mr. Miller, for being here. We'll follow up about the payment for that piece and then talk on the 20th about the additional request.
Real quick, just in closing, if anybody has any concerns about Middle Crossing or would like to talk to me, I'm an open book. I can meet with anyone at any time and talk to you individually. I can meet you guys in a group. So if anyone has any questions or concerns at all about Middle Crossing or me specifically, reach out to me. I would love to talk to you guys more. And, I have lots to say and I would love to share it if you guys want to hear it. So, I mean, I'm here to get this project done for the benefit of the city. So I don't want people to think that I'm just some, evil person who's, just causing problems. So if you guys have any concerns at all, by all means, reach out and I would love to talk to you guys.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And I appreciate you guys tonight. Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thanks.
Have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you.
I mean, you're welcome to stick around, but.
Pretty excited.
I got
That's okay. I would
say what I couldn't, so.
I wouldn't stick around. Okay, so with that, we will go back to, and you got everything you need.
It's being recorded.
Okay. Did you get the vote? Got that? Okay, perfect. That's all we really need at the end of the day, so, okay. We'll go back to item D, new business, starting with the city council conference attendance policy. And Councilor Caseman and city manager and I just got back from the LOC Spring Conference, where we had a lovely time. We learned a lot. We met a lot of great people, and now.
I think Councilor Caseman is responsible for this discussion because while we were there, we played music bingo where
That's
when
true.
a song came up, then you got to fill in your square in your bingo card. And Councilor Caseman won the blackout.
Wait, no.
That was amazing. And he found this great prize of a free LOC conference registration for the next conference this summer.
That's called fiscal responsibility.
Yeah.
We need to go.
So the question came up, am I going to the next conference? Can I transfer it to somebody else if I don't go to the next conference? How many conferences do I get to go to in a year? How many conferences should anybody get to go to in a year? So that's what brought the discussion. So hopefully you read the memo. Just to hit it real quick, we're just looking, first and foremost, we know who plans to attend or who would like to attend the conference this summer because our city recorder is very diligent, wants to make sure that we get rooms, everything reserved. This is going to be a big one. They're spending extra money on people coming in to give presentations, the special stuff, the food, everything else is going to be a little over top. It's 100 years celebrating LOC. So it'll be a big one.
Where is it? And what dates?
Portland on,
October 2nd to 4th.
yes, October 2nd to 4th.
That's not saying.
October 2 through 4
That's true.
in Portland.
It's fall.
Late summer. It doesn't start raining. It doesn't start raining until end of October. It's the Halloween day.
So, yeah, I think we just wanted to kind of bring this up to just gauge the temperature. I'll share, I personally, I know I'm generally in favor of having written policies for things. This one, my take on it was just, I wanted us to kind of talk about it and think about it. I still think it's going to be a very like case by case basis thing, but even just having like some group norms around like if you've gone to the last 3 conferences, maybe give someone else a chance, or like something else we talked about is like, if you're leaving the city council, you maybe don't need to go to the conference right before you leave. It's supposed to be for professional development and training. And so, we don't really need to spend taxpayer money training you to not be on the city council anymore. But my opinion, and if the council feels differently, it's fine. I don't know if we need to adopt hard and fast goals for this, but just maybe being a conscious thing of like, these conferences are really important. They give us great ideas. They allow us to learn from other cities. They also cost money. That money is in the budget, but we can't have all 7 of us going to every conference all the time and all that.
Without increasing the budget.
Right, we could increase the budget, and that is one thing I'll say is I think, and this is not to throw anyone under the bus, I will just say the budget for travel and meals and education and training for all 7 members of the city council is less than it is for most staff. So it's not like we're going off and crazy and everything, which is often because staff have to, travel out of state for conferences and everything, whereas we usually drive a city-owned vehicle, or carpool. So just to say, I don't, it's not like we're like spending tens of thousands of dollars on this or breaking the bank or doing anything crazy irresponsible, but with our current budgeted resources, we can't have all 7 of us going to everything, which hasn't been a problem. But I know the thing that Chris mentioned is like years ago, Chris would be like begging people to go to these and trying to get people to sign up, and no one would be going. And now it's kind of the opposite problem of like, oh, everyone wants to go. Okay. Yes. So I'm going to stop talking now, but we were just curious sort of what the council's thoughts are on that. Councilman Andrade?
I think I've probably been to the most so far. So I'll just say they're fantastic. I highly recommend everyone go. I've only been to the fall conferences and then to the city day this last year. But it's, a great way to learn more about, everything local government and even how that connects with like federally and such sometimes. And meeting other people from other places, having that networking and like, oh, you have the similar problems that we do, and how are you doing this? And getting lots of new ideas and stuff. I agree with you about the like, yes, written policies are great, and also probably case by case regarding norms. I missed a couple deadlines, but typically I try to apply for the scholarships, so that could be a thing of like when the scholarships become available, we all apply and such. But yeah, I think that especially considering the fact that we don't get paid, like in order to do the best we can and like not being compensated, like it seems like it's pretty like low,
Yes. You're
low
not,
impact.
you're
Like,
not breaking the bank on our city council.
exactly.
But yes, thank you. Okay, I don't know who's, Councilor Crocker?
The statement, should priority be given to counselors in their final year of service? I think that's completely backwards. I don't think priority should be given to a final service. Perhaps priority should be given to someone in the first 2 years of service so they can learn. The final service year, I'm hoping that the people have already attended conferences and have learned what they needed to learn. And that knowledge that they gain is not going to serve the council for very long. So I think that's the wrong priority. I think, loose guidelines would be okay, not hard and fast rules, but maybe 2 conferences a year. And if First come, first service, maybe we just allow 3 or 4 maximum at each one too. I don't know.
I think the other thing I had talked about with Chris was just maybe planning ahead a little more and like, which is part of what we're doing tonight, talking about it at a council meeting as opposed to just like Crystal sending a VCC email to all of us and then whoever replies first gets, like this.
That's right.
Right, yeah, no, exactly, yeah. And 'cause I think part of my thought too is like, just recognizing that like this is a commitment, it is an expense. And I feel like even for me, when I get that email, I'm like, it sounds fun, I'll go, and I don't really put the full thought into like, oh, like, is it worth going? Like what, that kind, I mean, not that I've ever had a problem with that, but just, having it be a little more of a thoughtful discussion at a council meeting. But yeah, and Councilor Irwin, I know you had the hand up.
I agree with pretty much everything that you initially said about kind of rough guidelining, like, maybe it's less important if you're leaving in under a year, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to say, like, I am generally in favor of attending things and learning things for myself. And so, I'm also busy, and so there's some balance to it.
Right.
And I've got a few home things, but that should be kind of clear enough. So all that to say that, like, I do really appreciate the idea of strategizing to make sure that we're kind of serving the best interest of the city as a whole. And I think, and then I think it matters, I had you guys just said that for example, this upcoming one is a big one, so maybe it's one
Right.
where a few more than we would normally send go, or what, like, I don't know, sometimes it's just a value proposition, like, oh, hey, this is a big deal, a lot of new information, there's a lot of turmoil around state funding, so for example, like, there might be a lot to learn right now, and having 4 of us know what's going on might feel better than one, being filtered in by 1 or 2, or however that works. But so I guess it's kind of a dumb way to say it. I agree with everything that we've already said, which I hate when people do that, but
No, I appreciate that.
yeah, in agreement.
Yes,
I
Councilor.
was gonna say, integrate, since this is the big one, if we
Yes.
could all go, that'd be great. It seems at the spring one, we saved 2, I think Councilor Crocker and Councilor Salsa were not able to go, so we saved some money there. Or is that not correct?
Minute save the money.
We saved the money.
We transferred it over.
Oh, transfer. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Chris got real popular on the city manager's listserv by handing out free conferences.
It's about a waste.
Yeah.
Sure, okay, very good. Also, for the record, I did ask if mine was transferable, and the person at the LOC said, if you can't go, let us know, and I'll ask the executive director, but I can't make any promises. So I would have transferred it, but I don't know if I could do that. So just for the record. So, but it seems like maybe there's a way for us all to go and then not go next year.
Yeah, which I think, I'm in the same boat of, I think this is why we don't necessarily need like a written, because like this is the 100th year. This might be one where, more of us go, and then next year we don't all need to go kind of thing. But I think maybe if our common understandings can be some of those, we try not to have the same person go to everything all the time. We try to deprioritize people who are leaving us, even though we love them very much. And then we'll try to have a discussion about it at a council meeting ahead of time, just to kind of figure out who's going, what the plan is. Okay, and then
One other thing.
Oh, yeah,
that I
please.
thought of, well, actually, Councilor Andrade thought of it, but maybe a concerted effort around scholarships, like, hey, things coming up, whether it's like a group thing or whoever,
Yeah.
staff can draw straws, and whoever gets the shortest straw has to, like, put together an SOP for getting the best results out. I don't know, I haven't seen how difficult a process it is or anything, but maybe we could streamline it so it's like more like a go button than a process.
I guess I was curious about, I had never applied for the scholarships because I always felt like they were for genuinely small towns of like 200 people. But should I be?
Yeah,
No,
that's a
there's-
great question.
Typically, staff's gonna apply for those on your behalf, so you don't really have to do anything.
Okay,
We have traditionally done it for like first-time attendees, we'll do
okay.
it for. But there are a lot of smaller communities where, if not but for the scholarship, they wouldn't be able to go at all.
Right,
They just couldn't
exactly.
afford it. And so, but, our budget isn't glamorous. We do have, we put $10,000 a year for education and training, and that includes your training you're doing. It includes bringing guest speakers in to provide education opportunities for the community and things. So I mean, it's a big pot of money, but it goes fairly quick as well, as we know. But we've never spent all of that either. So
Yeah.
there's room there. There's budget there. I don't want to scare it off. I think it was more a matter of um, I think your recommendation that we kind of landed on was if conference registration comes to the council in a quick discussion like this, and we can say who's interested, who's available. If it's on the agenda, then to look at your calendar and come to the meeting knowing if you're available and you're interested in going or not. And if we have 3 people, then we're done. If we have 5, maybe we have a discussion, right? It's like, oh, where are we at? Did we have 7 people go 3 months ago? Maybe we should lessen that. So I think as long as we have that as an agenda topic going forward, I think we'll cover a lot of the issues that might otherwise come up. But I don't want it to be ever a thing that's divisive either, because I have seen that on other councils and commissions where, oh, so-and-so got to go. I really wanted to go, but I didn't want to say anything because they got to go. So I don't want it to be something that drives a wedge in between council members or the mayor gets wedged because he's the mayor every time. Why doesn't he just go to the mayor association's conference? That's we got to go to the league conference because I can't go to the mayor's conference. So he took my spot at the league, right? So we just don't want it to be a wedge. So I think having the conversation coming in, I think we'll be fine. I agree with not setting, I agree with everything that's been said as well.
Look at that. What an agreeable group we are.
Trendsetter.
Home, we solve everything with rock.
Yeah. Okay, does that some consensus on this? We can move on.
Does anybody know tonight?
Oh,
if
yes.
you're-
Is that,
or
no,
want
that's not a
to
separate.
go to the conference in October?
Yeah, that's a great question. You are?
Yeah, I'm People Color Caucus, so
Yeah, okay.
we have our events
Yes.
session together.
Yes, I'm compelled to go.
That's true. That's true.
I want to go.
Okay,
I don't have a confirmation on,
We double check.
okay.
yeah, let me work through some stuff, but I am currently expressing interest.
I love it.
For the session.
I
Oh.
felt terrible. My knee did not allow me to go after it was all signed up,
Yes.
and Rich also had a family emergency. Those things happen, but it doesn't make you feel good. So, I'm not sure if, I'm willing to go, I would, but I would rather not this time, I think, just because stop this last one, so.
Oh, no, you're fine.
That's not a reason.
That happens.
Oh, no. None of this is meant at you. Oh, no.
No, and
It's the Philomath Scholarship. It worked out great.
And
I'm going to be a translator for I'll be in Panama. Yes, hablo español. And so I'm going to be going as using my language skills, and so I will be in Panama.
I carry her luggage for her.
Yeah.
You know, we carry her.
and I'll put myself in the same.
Okay.
Okay. Wonderful. Moving along, we have farmers market sign up update. I hope you all got the email from Crystal with the options to sign up. And then there were some back and forth about adding or changing options. There's nothing we need to do tonight. This is just reminder that that's out there if you want to come table at the farmers market. I think, as Chris mentioned, we started just every other week because last summer we had every week and that did not happen.
Yeah.
And the farmers market got a little annoyed with us that like we had signed up for every week and then we're not showing up. So
And the farmer's market, God bless, is getting more busy and they're having more vendors. And so I think we don't want to take a spot away from
Yeah.
a vendor if they're actually going to be there participating. But yeah, any questions or anything on that? Does that seem like a good
How
plan?
long is the shift?
Well, it's generally the whole market, but that's part of it. Like if you, like I've done a thing before where it's like, I can only be there in the morning, someone else can only be there in the afternoon, kind of switch off. Like it's not there's no laws about this. Yes, Councilor Andrade.
I was thinking about the inclusivity committee and how we wanted to table again.
Oh, sure. Okay.
6 August. But I don't know.
Right, but pencil that in. We can do
Let's do so, we can take one of these, or we can just do the off one that the council's not.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, okay.
So, yeah, I'll
Okay.
work with the committee and find a date.
Yes, and I don't think it will be a problem this year, given that it's not an election year, but for anyone new, if you're ever at these things, it has to be representing the city, not representing your bid for office or your political positions or anything. So you're welcome to do that elsewhere, but not at the city booth. So yes, Councilor Crocker.
I've only done this once, and I was given cards to get people to sign up for the emergency response so that they would find out if there's a wildfire or a storm coming or whatever. And I felt that was a very good community service to get them signed up. But I also felt like maybe I was a little too aggressive.
You were very effective.
People were afraid. I mean, first of all, they wouldn't come to our table at all. They just walked by, so we had no big fancy anything to offer. But, so I would go ahead and meet them with the card, and they thought I was trying to sell them something. And once they found out what I was doing, they were very appreciative, but most of them.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of those cards from Benton County Emergency thing now. So if anybody would like to do that,
And that's actually,
the cards.
that is a good, I know we had talked about, I know this is small potatoes, but just like getting one of those like stretchy tablecloth things with like the city logo. Because that's been a problem in the past, is like there was nothing on anything we had that identified us as the city. So people were like, who are these two fools? Right. Yeah, yeah. So I think we're gonna try, especially with our new logo and everything. I think it got a little better last year because we at least had the like A-frame sign, but like,
That was
ask
good.
your counselor a question kind of thing. But I think we want to, because that was often the thing, is people would come up and be like, what is this? And I'd be like, oh, I'm on the city council. They'd be like, great. And then they'd have a question, but we want to make sure people see that and why we're there. But,
Yeah, Chelsea's on it. We'll have
Okay.
a better presentation.
okay.
The other thing that's not on here is, I think we have on there, use Chelsea now as your points of contact. If you got a topic, if you have a topic selected that you'd like to do, let us know, a week or two ahead of time, if you could, if there's some material that you want, if you want poster board made up, any of that, we'll help you with that. Don't feel like if you're signed up for that date, you're on your own. We can print stuff here, we can spend some creating stuff. We're not gonna put 20 hours into it, but we'll put some time, put information together, depending on what the topic is for you. So you've got handouts, you've got some information and things, so you're not, don't feel obligated to sign up and be responsible to provide all of the content. Staff will help you with content. Reach out to Chelsea or myself.
Okay, wonderful. Let's move along to another one of our favorite subjects, the Landmark Drive Local Improvement Project. Again, this is coming back to us. We discussed this at a previous meeting. And we decided we wanted to move forward with the idea, and now we have an opportunity to make a motion to that effect. We're already at 8:30. I don't think we need to go over all the details again, but are there any questions or discussion on the agenda item or any?
Finance admin.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. I knew we talked about it somewhere.
So I think Spencer was gonna hit
Yes.
highlights and then I could answer
Oh,
any
yeah.
questions on it. and
Okay.
then his recommendation.
Excellent. Okay, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the gist of, this is that the Landmark Drive Community Area Road, engaged in, agreed to a local improvement district. That sounds good, agreed to. And which is, basically a split cost incurred that the city helps with by paying for upfront, and then it's divided out amongst the properties that receive benefit from the improvement. This one was done in 2022. And it's, there isn't a set time, but now would be a good time to start talking about finishing that up and making the assessments on the properties, and getting started with the process of getting that paid back. There was a caveat that I am forgetting that we agreed that we should mention. The one guy's not real happy about it.
So the first property on the chart on page 2.
Yeah.
Mentions the 2707 property. You can speak to that one maybe briefly.
Yeah, 2707, one of the property sections was removed because it doesn't actually access Landmark Drive. It has access on the highway there on the backside. And more importantly, he agreed to what is that?
So no access easement.
An easement, yeah, easement was a word that I couldn't think of, a no access easement, agreeing that there wouldn't ever be access created there for that piece of the property. So it's been removed. The net effect of that is that it does change the actuals a little bit. It gets divided out amongst the other properties. I'm trying to think of what else is relevant. There's a few ways to assess it. Acreage seems to be the most common and appropriate method. We pretty thoroughly discussed that.
We talked about a 10-year payback period.
Oh, yeah.
An interest rate charge. So
After consulting with Mr. Mrzinski, we thought a 10-year at 5% is a fair and appropriate rate to begin the process of recuperating that money. It would stay as a lien if for some reason they didn't do that. I should have buffed this out with some more speech here. I'm like bullet pointing here, but
It's good.
I think that's kind of the main. I think we just need an agreement that now's the time to start doing that. There's obviously some of these people might be not excited that a bill comes now, or might have forgot that a bill's coming when they agreed to the thing that sounded fun. But now it's time. Oh, and the warranty period. Part of the reason why it's now and not before is because we waited through the warranty period to make sure there weren't any additional costs or unexpected overruns.
Thank you very much. I apologize. Forgot this was in a committee.
Did I miss anything?
no, so good.
Okay.
You had it, rather than just again, the recommended motion on page 17 or 3 of 3 of the memo is the due process is that if the council is ready to move forward, then we'll send notices out. We'll set it's not a public hearing, but it's an invitation to those affected to come and speak to the council. And so we want to hear from them. They'll see their final assessment numbers, what the numbers came out to. I'll provide a little narrative about why the change. I'll reference that, front lot on 2707, how it was removed and that got allocated out. I'll talk a little bit about the total cost of the project versus the engineer's estimate that they were originally given. So, I'll do an informative letter to them and invite them to come to that next city council meeting. What do I have here in July? So I'll give them a couple of months, get their information together. That gives them time to come talk to me if they want to. And then on the 7th, when they have an opportunity to address the city council, I'll have a adopting ordinance prepared for that night. And so, again, depending on what we hear, then that ordinance is ready and we can pass that ordinance that night. And then once the ordinance is passed, then they get the official letter from the city recorder saying, the ordinance has been passed, this is the assessment, it's gonna be, contact us within 30 days. If we don't hear within 30 days, we'll put a lien on the property, and that lien's payable under these terms, right? Within the next 10 years, 5% interest rate, or when the property sells, then that lien would be paid off at that time, like any other lien on the property. So that's kind of where we're at in the process. We're just ready to take that next step forward on it.
So I would have liked to have mentioned that they will have another opportunity to talk to us about that. Seems pertinent.
Thank you. Councilor Andrade?
It's been so long, so I don't quite remember the original discussions about this, but were the property owners, were they given like an estimate at the beginning? And,
On the table.
Yeah.
but I mean,
Page 2.
I guess like the plus or minus part, the potential deviation, like what? Like, is this still relatively within like the expected amount? Like were they
They were
given a
given a
range?
plus or minus. They were given an engineer's estimate, right? So based on the engineer report, they looked at what did they estimate the project would be, how would they divide that out, and they used an engineer's report they did based on the size of the property. You could argue that the bigger the property, the more potential development, the more impact on the road. So they went by the size of the lot. That's what got approved by the city council at that time. That's what got presented to the owners. They had an opportunity to come and testify. Some of them did. In fact, I think all testified, either written or orally. But they did. But no, all they got was that engineer's estimate number. And then, of course, when we went out to bid, that came back to the council. The estimate for construction was actually less than the engineer's estimate, which was good. And the actual cost of construction was less than the engineer's estimate, which is also good. So nowhere to complain. The only complaint they could really have is that the city council approved to take out that 2707 lot, which is probably fair. Probably should have just not been including the assessment to begin with. But if I was the engineer, I would have included it because it could still get benefit from that property. It was when the owner agreed that if you remove me, I'll put this easement so I never take access off of it. The council felt that reasonable. They took that. So that 29,785,000 had to be spread out to all of the other remaining properties within the district.
Yeah, no.
That's really the only surprise, but
Okay.
that got decided 3 years ago, so.
Yeah, no, I was trying to figure out like what they got when. But then also the other question was so thank you for that. The 10 years with the annual interest rate of 5%, is that like a typical LID like payback of assessments, or is?
Yeah, we talked earlier tonight about like an STC lien, those are 9%. And there's not a set date on that, but typically those get paid back within 6 to 12 months at 9%. We really don't like being a bank,
Yeah.
but in this case, you could argue the community does get some benefit, the city gets some benefit out of having that after paved. I know I go back to Philomath Rental and borrow equipment, it's nice to not be hitting potholes all the way back and forth, so in general, the city benefits. I think the city providing the funding in the first place and doing the project that they weren't able to fund themselves, why they came to the city. That's all good. I think we need to stick it to them on interest on top of that as well. We've got a banker in our midst, so I'll defer to him a little bit here, but I think that a project like this would be hard to go out and get like personal financing for, because you're not really building anything new. It's hard to get a business loan because you're not adding value to your business by improving the road. You are, but you've already done it like 3 years ago. So I think getting a conventional loan would be tough for a lot of these business owners, property owners. So they don't really have a choice to go out and get this financed, to get us paid off and just carry their own private financing for it. So I think lowering the rate makes sense. At the same time, we're trying to keep up with inflation like everybody else is. So going below 5% seems like we'd be going backwards at the same time. So Mike Brzezinski, finance director, recommend the 5%. The finance committee felt good with that number. I'm comfortable with that number as well. I think it's very fair, still very reasonable. 10 years feels like plenty of time to get it paid off. And the sooner we get this money in and paid off, the more money we've got towards other future street projects. And we've got a whole list of street safety, pedestrian crossings, all that kind of stuff we'd like to do. We just need the cash coming in to do it. And so we do want to kind of incentivize them to get this paid off
Yeah, just
in the near future.
context. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Counselor Crockett?
Really quick, I'm under the impression that there's a chance that the Landmark Realty might be selling. And if they were to sell before July, could they pay this ahead of time before we even make this decision out of their proceeds, or do they have to wait till we?
The assessment's going to carry with the property, so they would, I'm not an attorney, a real estate attorney, but if they didn't disclose that a local improvement district had been formed by the city council and they've been notified that an LID was forming and a project was being done and they were going to be assessed, then they'd probably have an issue with the future buyer, right, or that new owner. They'd probably have an issue there.
Just saying if they wanted to pay it before July, so it was all unencumbered, they could just.
Yeah, we gotta get the ordinance passed. We want to get the ordinance passed, yeah. We might have them, yeah, if the Hearts came to me with that conundrum, then we'd talk about some type of payment in lieu of or something like that to help make it right, so we'd figure that out. The ordinance really needs to get passed by the council before we can do legally assess those properties.
I move to direct staff to issue notices, set the final date for written objections for July 7th, 2025, and prepare the ordinance setting the assessments to be considered at the July 14th city council meeting.
And also,
Okay, it's been moved by Mayor McMorrin and seconded by Councilor Nielsen to begin the process for this LID. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye? Aye. That passes unanimously. Which now brings us to another fun topic of the continuation of our commercial building facade grant program, or our sort of downtown facade grants. And I guess before I turn it over to Chris, I'll just say this is one of my favorite things that we do, because I feel like you can, well, in one particular instance, you can see that it's made an impact. I don't think a lot of people in town know that it's made an impact, but I hear from people like, wow, dirt road looks great. And I'm like, you're welcome. But not that we did any of the work, but I think it's one of those snowball effect things where, you know, when you have a commercial area that looks great, that is refreshed, that feels modern, up to date, it attracts more businesses, which attracts more investment, which makes things look more modern and up to date. And it's sort of that thing. And I think this is a relatively modest investment to spur a lot more investment. So with those biasing words, I'll turn it over to Chris.
Yeah, I'll be brief on this. To me, it's pretty simple. The reason it's really come back is we really implemented this program last year and a half ago as kind of a pilot program. Is let's get this started again. We identified a funding source. Those aren't unlimited funds. We had $100,000 in there roughly, so we figured, hey, we could do this for the next 3 years. No, 3 years, 5 years. What's that? 3? So yeah, 3 years. So we do the next 3 years. Let's see how it goes, right? And so my report essentially is we were able to commit funds to 3 projects. One of the 3 are done. The other one's got till next year to get their project done still. I would hate to skip funding projects this year because we're waiting for the others to get done when we give them 2 years. So my recommendations in here, I've got businesses interested knocking at the door, some current landowners, some future property owners that have offers in on properties. They're like, hey, when can I find out about this facade program that you told me about? And I'm like, I'm talking to the council Monday night. I can have an application to you Tuesday if they're agreeable to it. So I think the pilot went well. I streamlined or just simplified some of the language in the pre-application application a little bit to qualify them, make sure that they're in and a good candidate. We are going to change our architect that we're using for the second phase. That'll look at the timber town elements that the city's put together and help the property owner incorporate those into their new design and actually have a a rendering of some sort, an elevation that they can submit with their application, make it a little bit easier on the selection committee. But other than that, I don't have a whole lot to add. I think it's been a great program. I see it helping property owners in town for the next 3-4 years still, so.
And I'll say too, bringing it back a couple agenda items. I've talked about this program with people at LOC conferences, and they always are very impressed with it, and I think a little bit jealous. Yes, we are. Yes. So, yeah, there is on the back.
Yeah, make a motion. I move to direct staff to continue the commercial building facade grant program.
Counselor Caseman, okay. Been moved by Counselor Nielsen, seconded by Counselor Caseman to continue the commercial building facade grant program. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye? Aye. Okay, that passes unanimous.
I'll get those applications out tomorrow.
Then we have already done the Park SDC agenda item. Then before we do the management report, we're gonna finally get some reports back from council liaisons and representatives. And I apologize, I realized on my drive here that I was gonna send you all an email like on Friday to remind you we were gonna do this, but I didn't. So just to say, if we can just go around the table really quick and talk about for your assigned representative roles. If, it's been 4 months or so since we made those assignments, if you can just give us a quick update about, have you been able to make contact with your organizations? How's that been going? Anything to report back, anything that we as the council should be aware of, not anything to take action on. Maybe we'll start with Councilor Irwin.
I left the Philomathoregon Community Foundation board meeting to come here.
Look at that.
So it's Friday, so. Yay. And I attended last month as well. We've actually got them set up. They plan to be here next month to tell us about themselves. And which is well timed because a large part of what they do is distribute scholarships to Columbus students. And they voted to approve the scholarships that were recommended today. So when they come, we'll get to hear about who got what, and they're really excited about it. What else to say there? Similar there, talking a little bit about seeking new board members or new participants and just kind of being maybe a little more obvious or a little more in the forefront. I think, when I read it in the thing, I was like, I don't know what that is. I'll do that. Fine. And it's actually really cool and they do a lot and it's kind of a big deal. And it's kind of goes with our volunteer spirit here. It's another that, it's pretty small for a community foundation, but it's really effective. And I think that kind of speaks to our city and the way that, we do a good job with what we have. And I think they're doing something similar. So, I'm excited. They'll tell us more about that.
Awesome. Okay.
Next month, next week, that'd be wild.
And then I think you're also the liaison with the planning commission. Are you able to do anything with that? Or...
I tried to come last week or last one and Chris yelled at me and told me to go away.
Oh.
This is a public hearing
Oh, okay.
that might
That's
come
fair,
before the city
yeah.
council, so
Okay.
he was unwelcome.
Yeah.
No
Got
problemo. I should be able to check in some. They happen to be in a time that's fun for me. And
Oh, okay. Well, let me know if that's an issue. We can
Yeah.
swap you up or something.
do it floppy.
Okay.
Should I come to the next tomorrow?
Honestly, this feels like a pretty good.
It's working out. It's the Tuesday evening time frame that's rough for me, but Mondays, I pretty much always are dedicated to civics at this point, so.
Okay, so next Monday.
Thank you so much. Counselor Crocker?
I am the liaison to Paloma Community Services. I've gone to 3 board meetings, I believe, so far. I have been somewhat involved. I have joined a committee on there, the outreach committee. And the past liaison, Teresa and I, have seen a need and we've worked on food drives, 2 of them so far. And thanks to amazing volunteers from our community, they have gone without a hitch, basically. They are going to need more space, as you probably all know. They also, the funding for the food bank and the gleaners is dropping off because of cuts, OSDA cuts. So the need for community food drives is going to increase. They need a manager for June's Kids Closet. That's about what I have to report, I think. Mr. Caseman is a board member there, so he can add anything else, yeah, that I might have missed. I was the past for the PCS, and I agree they need to be out in front more because I hear people talking about the Benton County Foundation, and I say, have you talked to the Paloma Community Foundation? And we go, no, we didn't know it was there. And so I kind of would love to see them.
They're talking about it. Obviously, the other part of the deal is like a fiduciary deal where like they can't just be blowing money on
Right.
press conferences and. So, I did tell them to be prepared to, give us actionable items, not,
Oh, cool.
not like,
Great.
hey, give us money or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
What can we do to help?
I will say,
Sorry.
I can just back that up. I about the library, and they were talking about like what we could, help renovate the library in Corvallis. And they're like, well, I don't think we could do the same thing in Paloma because there's not really like that same kind of community foundation in Paloma. There's literally the Paloma. So yeah, anyway. And I think also for context, because I don't think we communicated it to the whole council, Councilor Crocker was on the Willamette Criminal Justice Commission. And they then,
Pick me up.
yes, correct. They rewrote their bylaws because I think they were having a lot of issues with quorum where they just couldn't get everyone there. So they've drastically shrunk the size of the Willamette Criminal Justice Commission. And instead cities kind of rotate, and they rotate like elected official seats and staff seats and law enforcement seats. So Councilor Crocker is off, but we were allocated a rotating like city staff seat. So the city manager is now on the Criminal Justice Commission below instead, which I don't know if you have any updates on that you want to share.
I've just attended one meeting and it was really brief. We were selecting, I don't know if I can disclose, we're did some interviewing and things, so nothing to report back.
Okay, sounds good. I'm the liaison to the fire district and the school district, and the fire district, I've been attending their meetings. I think the most that I've been involved with them has been around some of their planning for the future. They're planning to put a operating levy on the ballot in May of next year. That's the plan, the tentative plan. And so I've been kind of advising on that and offering some insights. And that would replace their expiring bond measure. So the idea is it wouldn't really raise taxes. It would just replace the expiring measure with a new one that would fund operations. And then beyond that, we've just been, talking about lots of different stuff. The Public Works Committee talked about hydrant testing, which I think will be a ongoing discussion that may end up coming to the council, but we'll cross that bridge when it gets there. It's something that fire district had been doing that they don't feel like they have the capacity to do anymore, that our Public Works crew also doesn't feel like they have the capacity to do. But something that probably should be done somehow. So just to say, it's not an imminent threat, but it is a brewing thing that the council may need to weigh in on at some point.
And they've also passed their budget for the year, so that's good. They will continue to fight fires and respond to medical calls. Um, I know, yeah, we were worried. And then at the school district side, I honestly don't have a ton to report. I've just been going to school board meetings whenever I can. There hasn't been a lot that's intersected with the city. I think the only thing I'll say is just they are also looking, similar to PCS, at some facilities expansions in the future. I think Brad wrote an article even about they were exploring the possibility of buying the old Philomath Family Medicine building for a new district office so that the current district office could be used for classroom space. But I think that just presented, it would have cost too much to renovate that building to be appropriate for the district. So they're changing course, but they're starting to really look at their facilities plans and everything. So that may be something that ends up um, being a city thing as well. And as we kind of launch our Philomath 2050 visioning thing, I think that will be part of it. And then the last one I'm on is I'm on the board of the Council of Governments, which I hope they're not watching this right now because those are some of the driest meetings that I have ever been a part of. Great people, not great meetings. It's been interesting. So, well, it's been good to meet the other people on the board and kind of learn more about what COG does. They do a lot. And similar to Plymouth Community Foundation, I don't think anyone really knows the COG exists, but chances are most people have touched their services. So that's been a rewarding experience, even if I wish it were more exciting.
They get they get a lot of federal funding
They do,
traditionally,
yeah.
so there's a lot of concern right now about the funding of some of their key services that they provide, so.
And just for context, like they provide like non-medical, non-emergency, like sort of medical transportation, everything for like seniors. They provide
Meals on Wheels.
Meals on Wheels. They provide like a lot of services. They provide veteran services for certain counties. So like a lot of services for some of the most vulnerable folks in our community. So I think that is definitely top of mind. I've only been to one board meeting because they only meet quarterly with the full board or every other month. I don't know. So the point is I've only been to one. But that's what's going on there.
Yeah. Well, I have the pleasure of being the liaison to the chamber, along with the chamber. And it's been really fun. Attended a few board meetings, couple of board meetings, luncheon, and I have a luncheon this week. This week's luncheon is going to be about developing small businesses, entrepreneurs, and establishing businesses, which will be really good. They've got a guest speaker coming. Also who attended they had a seminar on Canva, web design, and that was really fun. I attended that for part of the meeting on that one, and several businesses came out to learn more about how to use Canva effectively and appropriately, and that was a good meeting. Most of the time at the board meeting, I have a short window at the beginning of the board meeting. And when I say short meeting, I mean short window, we mean short window, where they let me just report on city business and city calendar issues. And so I have a chance to do that and describe what we're doing as a council and what's happening in the upcoming calendar. And then a few questions and answers. Most of their concerns are from this chamber board are about small businesses, how we can facilitate the small businesses and how make it more inviting and more affordable for the average small business to come into town. And then I also work with I have the joy of working with the Frolic. Wow, what an amazing group of people. They are hard workers. And when I see all the work and all the volunteers hours that are required to facilitate that event, oh my goodness, it is just a phenomenal amount of hours that individuals are donating and the volunteer base that they need in order to do what they do. This wonderful renowned rodeo for our city that brings in a substantial amount of tourist interest outside of our city and inside of our city. I think the only thing I would have to, they're very, very focused right now. July is just around the corner and there's lots to be done. Lots of good discussion goes on and it's really been an honor to be there. And I think the only thing I have to be mindful of is there's still a ways to go on fundraising for the rest of what needs to be developed out at the rodeo grounds. And so this will be an ongoing process to completely finish the stadium arena as they hope it will finally be. And our own city manager's on the board as well there, and Kendall, is that the rodeo clown that you're in charge of? No, just kidding. No, just kidding. Just kidding. I volunteer my husband to go out there.
I'll say, I've seen the bathrooms going in and everything, it looked great, and the grandstands, of course.
Yes.
I thought, at some point we have to make the joke about how we're just a bunch of grandstanding politicians. Thank you.
Seats, a lot of seats for this. Do you remember the seats were added?
It's over 850 seats added. And we've not destroyed any seats. That's just in addition to. And then the next phase will be tearing out the old ones and the portion that got burned and replacing that with more comfortable seats that'll also house or be able to seat more people. So for this first phase, adding 850 seats is huge.
Right. And I also was very pleased that they were really addressing ADA issues, which I thought of Councilor Andrade and her diligence and commitment to that. And they were really addressing parking and access, and they really were trying to problem solve and make sure everything was in order for this July, which I really appreciated. I thought that was very considerate. So you're doing a great job. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you very much, Councilor Caseman.
So I'm the liaison to PYAC, one of my favorite organizations in town. And it felt great because I felt like I got to be an actual liaison and do something.
Good.
In one of the meetings, they mentioned two things, and I kind of jotted those down, and I was able to connect with Chris and Mr. Mayor, and so in two particular ways. And so I felt like, I made a connection. That was great. So there was that. They have the carnival coming up next Friday, I believe, so it's a big event in town. And then just generally, just an amazing board they have. They do a very charming thing at the beginning of their board meeting. They go around the table and talk about just what's going on personally. I thought it was very charming. Oh, my grandkid said their first word or something. It's a very charming thing. It's a great organization. And then I'm the backup liaison to the chamber. So whenever you can't make it, I'll jump in.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Councilor Andrade?
I am the liaison to the Benton County Hope Advisory Board, the Home Opportunity Planning and Equity Advisory Board. And I provided a community progress update for the Coordinated Homeless Response Office in our meeting packet last month. And Chris and I attend those meetings. And there's been, the executive committee directed staff to prepare changes to the HOPE bylaws that include functional and membership changes to be reviewed by the executive committee and recommended for final approval by the Board of Commissioners. So that's what they've been up to. And yeah, we'll see how things go as we transition between the planning and the doing of things on that plan. So
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you all for walking us through that. I know it takes some time, but I think it's helpful for us all to know what each other's up to and what these great organizations do. So we'll try to do that a little more frequently, just so we can kind of keep an eye on things. With that, Chris, do you want to share any highlights from the management report?
Again, I have everybody had a chance to go through this, but just a couple of notes. Again, appreciate attending conference as well with Councilor Caseman and the mayor. Learned a lot. Thought the sessions in general were good. We took some notes, and on the car ride home, we were talking about things to bring back to this council. I'll kind of spare that for tonight, just because we're getting a little long. But for that, I think one of my key takeaways more just a mindset shift about getting away from thinking about recruitment and retention and thinking more about how do we attract people to come and work for the city, and then how do we help them feel like they belong here, rather than kind of the more I guess for lack of better, kind of more militant words of like recruiting somebody to the city, and we got to retain them, right? We got to keep them here, retain them. We got to put the walls up, keep them retained, and really more just about becoming such a great work environment that we attract people that want to come here. That all we have to say is opening, and we got a line of people that want to be here, which for the most part has been the case. We've been really successful at hiring great people that want to be here in Philomath. And then that belonging standpoint, which again, I would argue we do a great job. We lose very few employees to other places, if not but for like a $40,000 pay increase at a neighboring police department or something. So, all things even, people enjoy being here. So I did some reflection on that, and I thought, we're doing a pretty good job of attracting and helping people feel belonging once they get here. And so that was a nice thought during the conference that was kind of helpful. I want to remind the council this Friday, it's 3:30 is our website project kickoff party. Come prepared to be wowed. It's going to be awesome. Invite your friends, invite your kids. It's going to be so fun.
Just because it's funny. So I mentioned at my workplace that we were having the website party. It's like, have you seen that episode of The Office? Anyway, so they have a website party, and so anyway, go back and watch that episode. All you Office fans.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll have to go back and a couple of things just on the side. Again, a nice grant from them, $25,000. I think that was mostly Chief Gursky doing the work on that, but I don't want to give him all the credit for a new fingerprint machine. I would say because I know he got some help. I'm sure Katie and others are helping him. But anyway, 25 grand for a much better fingerprint machine that gets used a lot. More than I wish it did, but it gets used a lot. Finance, pretty straightforward.
Digital.
It's digital. Yeah, it's digital. So less ink. Yeah, less ink and better images. Do anticipate in June from finance having a supplemental budget. I'll just preface it with supplemental budget used to be kind of a bad word. Like when I started at the city, it was this thing we never wanted to have to do. And the longer I've been around and the more I talk to city managers, there's some of these are submitting supplemental budgets like every quarter. It's like every quarter they're updating their forecasted budget expenses, right? And what they thought they were going to do 18 months ago just isn't relevant. When we pass the budget today, thinking we're going to know where we're at a year from now, the reality is today we know more about our budget situation than we did a year ago. And so it's not uncommon for cities to come in with supplemental budget items. Obviously, it's not something that you cheer for or you plan for, but it's not a negative on how the city's conducting business. If anything, it's a reflection that we know exactly where we are now. In fact, we know better where we are now than what we did a year ago. So I expect a supplemental budget to come in June. And we'll talk through that more specifically there, but I've kind of lost that having kind of the negative connotation that it used to have back when I started in this profession. So, and then Public Works is doing awesome. 19th Street's done. The City Park pedestrian lighting project is moving forward. If you haven't been by there, those are going to be great to light up, mostly to light up that parking lot. There's a walkway there as well, but mostly that's for the benefit in the fall and the winter when we're renting that park shelter out until 9 o'clock at night and it's dark at 5 o'clock at night. That parking lot's got one light on the building that lights up that whole area, kind of. This lighting will make it a lot safer for folks out there and people on the pathway. And then big project, the very last bottom bullet point there, Public Works. Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife had some extra trees. So they called up the city, said, hey, you guys want some trees? And we said, we would love them. So we got a bunch of volunteer students. Crystal volunteered, took some time off. I mean, we had a bunch of people down there, we meaning not I, but the city had a lot of people down planting trees, getting them all along the creek corridor, along City Park. So that was exciting. Appreciate the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife thinking of us and giving us a call to take care of that. So, and the ones that we didn't get planted, we're going to grow, get them a little bit bigger, and then we can put those in parks in future years. So we'll keep growing them. And I think that's it on stuff. Any questions on any of the other? I guess very last bullet point. Music in the Park kicks off the end of this month, May 22nd. That's with the middle school and the high school. So try to attend. That's usually one of the most attended events because we get all the parents and grandparents hanging out. That's very intentional. But it's also before they let out for school, so it works. But put that on your calendar. We are inviting nonprofit groups to have informational booths there. Lions Club will be serving food as they always do. So yeah, that's coming up, May 22nd. It's already summer stuff happening. It's fun. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments on the management report? I'll just say one thing, just maybe for later. I went to City Park. The lamps look amazing. However, the drinking fountains, awful.
What's wrong with them?
One of them doesn't work, and then the other one doesn't drain. So it's like a nice big pool of like stagnant water that you're supposed to drink over. Uh, so just to say, that might be a good pre-summer activity for Public Works. But other than that, everything's amazing. There's also a dead tree. That feels like no.
It's good. How's the officer attraction?
Pretty good. We've had several occasions. I think they're doing like a first review and they'll do that first outreach. I don't remember the dates right in front of me, but I know they had a pool of candidates
Yeah.
and they were just waiting until they hit that date and then just started going through them and getting people in for the testing and rescreening and all that. So I haven't seen any of the applications or anything, but I've heard they've had good numbers.
It seems like, yeah.
Capture stuff is a little tricky. You know, everybody wants to be a police officer when they're in kindergarten, and some people never grow out of it. Even people that are like have criminal histories themselves, or deal drugs, or other
Yeah.
stuff. So you're always going to get a fair number of those that are just not really qualified, or be eliminated from consideration. And that's, it's like, oh, we can make this one work. It's like, no, you can't, right? There's a hard stop on some of those. So of all the positions we do, that one probably has the most like just doesn't qualify. But there's always a pool that qualify and we take them through. Yeah.
So Tiger has a billboard on 34.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Tigered?
Yeah,
Wow.
I was like, that feels cut through
Where did it crash? Perfect.
Yeah.
Can we put a billboard up in Tiger?
I don't think we can afford that.
Did you have to go all the way to Tigard for an officer?
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, I guess the one last thing I'll say, and I'll talk more about it later, because I missed the chance to talk about it last time. We did have winners for the If I Were Mayor contest. And again, we'll have a more formal thing coming up, but they are here. It's for the elementary age, it's Sylvie Schroeder, and for the middle school age, it was Tessa King. And I think the highlight of my term as mayor so far has been Crystal and I went to assemblies at the middle school and the elementary school, and got to announce the winners. And I'll just clarify, the plan wasn't entirely for me to go to assemblies and announce this. That was Mr. Bell's idea at the middle school. And then I just showed up at the elementary school and they happened to be in the middle of doing an assembly. And they said, "Oh, great, come talk." And I was like, "Oh," but it worked out wonderfully. And so we're gonna have a lunch, I think, for them at City Hall and do some recognition, and then I'll share their essays at a future City Council meeting. But and I know she's not here, which is unfortunate, but I wanted to give a special thanks to Crystal, who really did 80% of the work on that this year, and I think it was a kind of a big boost over what that's been in previous years. We got a lot more entries than we have in previous years, and we had really good communication with the schools. I think some teachers even kind of made it like a class assignment, and that's the goal. So I think really good improvement this year, a lot of lessons for next year. I'm really excited to keep that going, but I just wanted to thank Crystal and thank all the students and teachers and administrators that helped with that. So we'll be back with more. And
thank Counselor Crocker and Counselor Salsa for reading all the essays and grading them so thoughtfully. Okay, any other thoughts, comments, questions on anything else in the packet?
May 17th is the powwow. I'm just looking at information correspondence stuff coming up right away. Great event. I've attended that in the past. Very, very well done. And then I'm at the risk of embarrassing her, attended My Fair Lady this last week and got to watch our own Count Andrade on stage. It was amazing. So, great job. And if you haven't seen it yet, highly encourage it. I went in with fairly high expectations because I'm like, it's Corvallis, it's a community theater, it's at the Majestic, and I expected like it to be amazing, and I was still blown away. The talent was terrific. I mean, everything was spot on. Really enjoyed it. Wife and I had a great date and couldn't enjoy it more. I've been humming My Fair Lady all weekend, much to my children's benefit. Much to my children's benefit. I don't know. So anyway, that's all. But congratulations, doing great. And hope you have success through the rest of the showings. We go all the way through this weekend. I think Sunday.
Great. And I'll just say too, there's a couple letters in here. I appreciated your text. I'm sorry. But there's a couple letters in here from me / the city, just to say, in general, if I get a request to support something and it seems aligned with the council's sort of vision and strategic plan, I'll just do it. If you ever have any concerns, let me know. And if it's something that's like really controversial, I'd probably wait and talk to y'all about. But like supporting a training facility at the fire department, I feel like I didn't have to think too hard about that one. So
Talked about it anyway.
exactly, yeah. So that one was easy, and then the like broadband one, got stuff in the strategic plan around economic development, connectivity, and everything. So
I talked on both of those too.
yeah,
so.
yeah. I talked with Chris before I go.
I read through them. I was impressed with
Well, thank you.
the word choice and everything. Sentence structure.
Those two particular ones, I won't take all that. They sent me some samples of what they like, and then I kind of
Good.
yes, dressed it up a little bit. But thank you very much. Okay, anything else before we head home? I like your stack of cups.
Yes, this was a 2-cup night. Right?
So ask about the contents of the
Weekend tonight.
Okay, well, with that, it is. Oh yes. It is 9:22 p.m. and we will adjourn this meeting. We will see you all again on May 20th.